Acting President Delcy Rodriguez led Tuesday a working group at the Socialist Commune of José Félix Rivas to evaluate firsthand the projects approved through national popular consultation. During the visit, Rodriguez supervised not only the finished projects but those still underway, such as the replacement of roofs and the creation of the new community gymnasium. With her visit, the Bolivarian government reaffirms that public management is carried out at grassroots level and that it is the people who govern the nation. In talking with the residents of the commune, the acting president reiterated that peace is a right of the Venezuelan people and urged Washington to set free President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Cilia Flores. During the visit to the commune, the Bolivarian leader praised the heroism of those who fell defending the homeland during the U.S. attack and announced a 7-day national mourning in their tribute.
Eso es lo más importante, que cesen, yo lo he dicho.
That is the most important thing, that the harassment against Venezuela ends, that the aggression against the valuable people of Bolívar ends, and from here a message to our young martyrs who gave their lives in defense of our country.
Que dieron su vida en la defensa de nuestro país. Jóvenes mártires.
Young martyrs, I have decided to declare 7 days of mourning in honor and glory to the young people, women and men who died, who gave their lives defending Venezuela, defending President Nicolás Maduro. For them, our recognition.
Also, Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, presided over a high-level meeting with the nation's top officials of the agri-food industry, covering the fisheries, communes, and industry sectors. During the meeting, ministers presented the agri-food results to comprehensively evaluate the nation's planting cycle and food security. The meeting reviewed the current status of seeds, harvest levels, and food distribution mechanisms throughout the territory and highlighted the fact that Venezuela has had the highest economic growth over the last 5 years. Likewise, authorities closely monitored production balances, ensuring that the connection between the field and the table of Venezuelans functions efficiently. In this sense, the acting president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, stated that the country is going through a painful time after the attack by the U.S., but that the people are marching in the streets for the freedom of President Nicolás Maduro and the first combatant Cilia Flores.
As I said yesterday in my oath-taking ceremony, Venezuela is now on a painful path, painful because of the aggression it suffered. An unprecedented aggression in our history, unprecedented also in the history of South America. But the Venezuelan people are active. They are in the streets marching at this very moment.
Justo en este instante están las mujeres de Venezuela marchando.
The women of Venezuela are marching for peace in our country, marching to demand freedom for our heroes, for President Maduro and the first combatant. We Venezuelans are people that don't give up, that
que no se rinde. El pueblo venezolano somos un pueblo que no nos entregamos.
Don't surrender. And we are here ruling together with the people. The government of Venezuela is ruling our country. No one else is. There is no external
rige en nuestro país. Más nadie. No hay
agent governing Venezuela. It is Venezuela. It is its constitutional government. It is the consolidated power of the people.
Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, toured the streets of Caracas on Tuesday night, noting the calm atmosphere that prevails and emphasizing the Venezuelan people's conscious strive to preserve national peace.
Good evening. Today is January 6th, and it is exactly 11 p.m. All of Caracas is in calm. Here we are on the main avenue of Joao. Everything is calm, peaceful. Our conscious people know what to do, working to restore the normality that should prevail in the country and work towards that. Today, businesses opened without any problems. We are in Las Mercedes. Everything is calm. We are heading to Petare, traveling. We have already come from the center, from the center where the vice presidency is, where the palace is. The whole area is in calm. The Plaza Oleari is calm. Hugs and see you soon.
The government of Colombia condemned the U.S. aggression against Venezuela, recognizing the acting president of Delcy Rodriguez in accordance with the legal framework in place in the country. During a press conference, Foreign Minister Rosa Villavicencio made Colombia's position clear regarding the situation Venezuela is going through after the illegal operation carried out by the United States. Therefore, she urged Washington to respect international law, the principles of democracy, and also the international order contained in the United Nations Charter. Villavicencio stated that only Venezuelans can decide for their sovereignty and reaffirmed that she recognizes Delcy Rodriguez as the acting president of Venezuela after the kidnapping of President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Cilia Flores.
Nosotros hemos dicho y reiteramos que
we have said it and we will repeat it. Only the Venezuelan people exercising their sovereignty can decide their destiny at this time. In the absence of President Maduro, the vice president has been elected and remains in office. This is in accordance with the internal legal system of this country. We respect the sovereign decisions of that legal system. We have also said that we reject all threats made against any country and that we reject colonialist-type administrations when we have achieved the sovereignty of countries.
The Chinese government, in response to a question from teleSUR, denounced the use of baseless narratives such as the alleged cartel de los soles to justify unilateral sanctions, military attacks, and the kidnapping of President Nicolás Maduro, demanding his immediate release. Our correspondent Bruno Falci brings us more details.
Hello companions, I'm in Beijing to inform you this time that in a press conference the Chinese government responded to a question from teleSUR regarding the United States' use of the alleged existence of the so-called cartel of the suns. The spokesperson Mao Ning condemned the use of this pretext to justify unilateral actions against Venezuela. And according to recent documents and statements from the U.S. Department of Justice itself, this narrative is false. The spokesperson also addressed the use of these false accusations to justify a military attack and kidnapping of the President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. Let's look at the response of Mao Ning.
China has consistently opposed unilateral sanctions that lack a basis in international law and are not authorized by the United Nations Security Council. China also opposes any external forces interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs under any pretext. The U.S. actions of forcibly detaining President Maduro and his wife clearly violates international law and the fundamental norms of international relations, as well as the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. China once again calls on the United States to immediately release President Maduro and his wife and to resolve differences through dialogue and negotiation.
Beijing emphasized that Venezuela is a sovereign state and warned that the using of baseless accusations as a political pretext to impose sanctions and resort of the force pose a serious threat to the international order. China reiterates its call to the international community to uphold multilateralism, respect for the sovereignty and the peaceful settlement of disputes, and demanded the immediate release of the President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. With this news from here, Beijing, we return to you in the studios in La Habana, Cuba.
Precisely in this context, we invite now Giovanni Reyes, volunteer member of About Face Veterans Against the War. Hello, Giovanni. Welcome to From the South.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Giovanni, from your perspective, is today's U.S. strategy effectively a revival of the Monroe Doctrine, or what Trump referred to as the Down Road Doctrine? And if it is the case, what does that mean for U.S. intentions across Latin America?
So the intention has always been clear. The intention is to dominate Latin America and dominate its resources, and to preserve American hegemony, not only in the region but around the world. So the Monroe Doctrine was a doctrine was named after the President James Monroe back in the 1820s, right? So it was declared in 1820, right precisely when the South American countries were getting their independence from Spain. Bolivar liberated the north of South America. You have San Martin, you have O'Higgins and whatnot. So at that moment, you know, it was proclaimed that this area, this liberated area, will be the domain of the Americas, right? And pretty much was a message telling Europe to get away from, to butt out of American affairs. By the time the United States could not enforce this, right? It wasn't until the corollary of the Monroe Doctrine during the Theodore Roosevelt time, where he did use gunboat diplomacy, where he did use bit stick policies. And that's when you have this American interventionism into the affairs of Latin America, and pretty much degrade Latin American independence and sovereignty into just becoming an appendage of American economic interests and political interests. So what was happening now is pretty much, as the United States, as the global empire, is waning, is losing its power. It's being outproduced, outmaneuvered, economically, out scientifically developed, from China, for example, right? In Europe, Russia pretty much has defeated the war against Russia. The NATO war against Russia has defeated and pretty much has come out stronger, whereas the American European powers has come out weaker because of the war in Ukraine. Now the United States pretty much see these two powers and the BRIC formation as a threat to its global primacy, right? The United States is no longer the dominant economic power of the world. China it's out producing in as far as industrial capacity. The United States, China is leading with scientific technology and development, and the United States, the only thing it has is its military power. And so it's exercising the military power around the world, and we also got to see this into the context of what's happening in West Asia as well. The attacks against Iran has become stronger as well. Iran has become a prominent force in West Asia, and it's in a collision course with the Zionist states of Israel. Israel is an appendage of the United States in West Asia, and Israel feel threatened by the rise of Iran. So there is plan there for another second round of attacks against Iran. You guys recall the 12-day war against Iran. Iran was a decapitation attempt to decapitate the leadership of Iran and pretty much bring Iran into chaos. It didn't happen. Iran came out stronger because of it. So now they're planning a second war. So this is not only an American project. This is a Zionist American project. It is in the interest of both Israel and the United States, right, for the United States to capture more resources in Latin America, right, in the global South, in Africa, etc., right? So it can go pretty much not only confront China and Russia, but also confront Iran, and also pretty much dismantle the BRICS. And that includes Brazil, and that includes Iran, India as well, which also form parts of the BRICS.
Also, the hours that followed the attack against Venezuela were marked by a massive response from social movements, from activists, political figures worldwide, but especially from within the United States. How significant these widespread condemnation have been, mostly in New York, where at this moment President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are illegally imprisoned?
Oh yes, it's important that the pressure continues. It's important that people of conscience, and the good people of conscience, people that of morality need to come out and demonstrate, because this is just a fragrant gangster act of the United States by this thuggery of kidnapping a sitting president of a state. And this should not go without any any rapprochement by the population. Also, for a long time, we have, I'm here in the United States, and we've had the elements of the diaspora, of the Venezuelan diaspora, who pretty much are resented by Chavismo, right? They're here and they're close to power, and they have allies like Marco Rubio's and Maria Salazar and etc. Right? And for a long time, their narrative had just been proliferated in American media, unchallenged, right? In the hours of the kidnapping of President Nicolas Maduro, right? They were making the rounds. They were saying how happy they were and how excited, finally Venezuela is free from tyranny, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But these people, right? These people have no interest in the development of the country. They have no interest in the investment of the country. They have no interest of the sovereignty and independence of the country, and they're so willing to pretty much undermine their own sovereignty and independence, right, and submit it to American dictates, right? So these people for a long time have had ample access to American media, and American media has pretty much promoted their talking points. So it's easy. So because we don't have those spaces, like we don't have those. They won't invite us into like CNN and Fox News and stuff like that, right? Or BBC and whatnot, right? To give another perspective, right? So what we have left is the streets. We got to take the streets. We have to advance the real narrative, the truth, and pretty much dismantle what these people, this imperialists and this this colonial mentality of the Venezuelan diaspora, right? We have to challenge that. It has to be challenged, and it has to be shown that people are not, we're not living in the 19th century anymore. We're not living in the 20th century. This is the 21st century, and these states have rights. States have rights, and you can't take serious these people that are so willing to give up and sell out their country, just so they can take power. So it is important that people come out in the street. It is important that people use the social media platforms, right? Because the tool is available to us, and pretty much dismantle and dismantle and correct and all the narratives that are out there that are contrary to what is actually happening, what is actually Chavismo, what is actually the struggle that the people of Venezuela are going through, and their resistance, because of their state.
Thank you very much, Giovanni, for joining us today, for helping us getting through all of the information that is coming from Venezuela in the midst of so much commotion in Venezuela and worldwide as well.
Thank you.
We're speaking to Giovanni Reyes, volunteer member of About Face Veterans Against War, and after China reiterates its demand that the United States release Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and first combatant Celia Flores, who were kidnapped on January 3rd. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning described Washington's actions as a flagrant violation of international law and the fundamental principles of the Charter of the United Nations. In this regard, the spokesperson emphasized that the kidnapping of the presidential couple is an unacceptable interference. Mao Ning also pointed out that the use of U.S. force against Venezuela, as well as demands on the U.S. of the use of its resources, constitute acts of intimidation that seek to undermine national sovereignty. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, led Tuesday a working group at the Socialist Commune of José Félix Rivas to evaluate firsthand the projects approved through national popular consultation. During the visit, Rodriguez supervised not only the finished projects but those still underway, such as the